Remi Piet joins us now from Miami, Florida. He's a senior partner at Mbelli Advisory. Remi, great to have you on the program again. Let's focus on the grain deal for now. Erdogan has previously played a significant role in persuading Putin to stick with the deal. What are his chances now?
I mean, that's definitely a good question, Sally, to just say, set the stage here. I mean, it's a very important meeting that we're going to get next week between Erdogan and President Putin in the Kremlin in Moscow. There's been, since the moment that Russia broke the deal and agreement with Ukraine in terms of securitizing exports of grains on the Black Sea, there's only been 3 ships actually traveling through the Black Sea. One of them actually being Turkish, being able to pass on exporting grains from Ukraine, and that has very strong impact on the food security on the large numbers of nations and millions of lives in emerging countries. So it's very important that this actually meeting moves along. Erdogan has a capacity to be somewhat level of a broker of trust between in that agreement, because ships have obviously to pass through the Bosphorus Canal in Turkey. But the capacity of Turkey to actually securitize those exports is limited in terms of the terms of ships available and others. And really, the question is, what is the real will from Putin in those discussions? And by securitizing the question of food security here, he actually is able to blackmail nations and to strongly impact the capacity of the Ukrainian economy to sustain the war effort. So that's really the stage right now and the importance of the meeting next week.
Now, to persuade Moscow, originally when this deal was set up, to approve for the original deal, a deal was struck with Putin at the same time, under which the UN officials agreed to help Russia with its own food and fertilizer exports. But Moscow said the memorandum had not been honoured and will restart the deal when it has. Is that a fair request, or is there more to it?
Well, there are regular actually inspections, as I was mentioning, from the Russians during the deal also, and the capacity to check whether or not those ships were able to harbor some kind of military capacities. It hasn't been the case in the past, but Russia is obviously very concerned about the capacity of Ukraine to use that agreement potentially to strike on Crimea. We just talked about the series of different drone attacks on Crimea, and it's also the capacity from President Putin to as a very strong exporter of food stock and cereals, to be able to have a leverage and a capacity of negotiations on countries that will not back his conflict today. And we've seen this with the gathering in St. Petersburg a couple of weeks ago, with African leaders trying to talk with President Putin and securitizing some of their exports. By limiting the importance of the capacity of Ukraine to export its grain, it really gives much more strength to Russia. So whether there is a real interest from Putin to engage in negotiation to arrive to a specific deal, whether there's a capacity from the Turkish or other nations on different levels to make sure that this deal could be actually implemented, this is what hopefully we'll see some progress next week in the Kremlin, but I remain doubtful.
So does Erdogan have a particular sway, going back to my first question slightly, and when they get together, Erdogan and Putin, on Monday, are they likely to take a more strategic and political view, or will it be more a logistical one? How might it look, do you think?
So you're very right to just center on Turkey. Erdogan has this capacity to have maintained a level of discussion and diplomacy in the 2 directions, and that's actually to his credit on this. You've seen different support financially also to that potential scheme coming from Qatar or other countries. But again, whether or not you are agreeing to a certain amount of exports and whether you're able to implement a deal, still to remain to be seen. It's obviously in the interest of Turkey to be able to position itself, as it's been several times in the past, as a peace broker, or at least being able to turn what is the big objective from Erdogan, Turkey, into a really hub of exports of energy, natural resources, mining goods, and also food stocks. So these presence of being able to work on the negotiation with 2 of the big players in terms of food exports is very interesting and important to President Erdogan, and hopefully he'll be able to suggest at least directions for a deal. There's been some suggestions already from Gutierrez from the United Nations has actually proposed a roadmap to be able to re-implement an agreement on food exports, but the role of Turkey is of paramount importance here.
Okay, Remi Piet, thank you for your insight. Senior partner at Mbelli Advisory.